Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of this arcade building series here on Signal Ridge. Get out a sheet of paper, something to write with, and be prepared to do some shopping. I will leave links in the description box to items that are unlikely to be acquired at your local hardware store. All other materials and tools are widely available and can be easily purchased locally. We've already covered the computer and software options for our budget, so if you missed that, be sure to check out part 1 of this guide. This video is going to be all about tools and materials needed and will make up the bulk of our cost. If you are under 18 and find yourself watching this video and you want to attempt an arcade build yourself, you should know this series is intended for adults. Everyone else should seek parental supervision and guidance when working with dangerous tools and equipment, such as those described in this video. We're going to start with the best sort of tools, power tools. I'm going to assume you have friends or family that own most of these things. It would be in your best interest to borrow the next few items and maybe even have a family member or a friend tag along during the build if they have experience using power tools. The more tools you can borrow from a friend, the less the bite will be into your budget. I should note that most hardware stores have tool rental options, but I've never gone that route, so I can't speak to it. I will only price out tools that are absolutely necessary for the sake of our budget. Other tools and items will be mentioned. You can determine whether or not to incorporate those items and therefore costs into your build. The first and most important power tool is a jigsaw. Make sure the blade is designed to cut high density MDF or hardwood. Although I have cut MDF with a blade designed to cut thin metal and the wood came out just fine if I cut slowly and carefully. The blade that comes with a newly acquired jigsaw should suffice. An optional tool to assist with straight cuts is a circular saw, but not completely necessary. The next power tool you will need is a drill with various bits. You will need a Phillips bit for some of your cabinet hardware and a spade bit to drill the control panel holes and to help cut out larger sections of the cabinet. A 1 1/8 spade bit is required as it fits the arcade buttons perfectly. Speaking of arcade buttons, I will leave a link to a USB encoder and joystick kit if you would like to create an authentic control panel. The easiest option, however, is to purchase standalone arcade sticks, but I leave that choice up to you. It'll cost twice as much to do the standalone joysticks, but my first few arcades that I built, that's what I went with, and it was just less hurdles I had to jump over. You will probably want an electric palm sander. If your cuts are slightly too large to work with, you can use a palm sander with coarse grit sandpaper to shave off some of the MDF on the edges of your cuts. I would recommend you keep a variety of sandpaper grits to meet your different needs. I would also get a sanding sponge of medium to fine grit to sand down the spackling by hand. The last power tool you will need is a router. This is optional, however, as it depends on whether or not you would like T-molding. My first several arcades did not have this, but plastic T-molding is a common feature of arcade cabinets, and it will provide a commercially produced look to your cab. To supplement the tasks of the router, you can use a Dremel tool with a wood cutting bit, but the Dremel tool is not completely necessary. It might just help rectify issues that may arise from errors you make along the way. Along with the router, you will need a 1/16 slot cutter to create a groove for your T-molding to grip into. This is not easily found in hardware stores, so I will leave a link to a router bit on Amazon that will work. I should state that my next video will also utilize the router for another part of the arcade cabinet, the light up marquee, but I will show you ways around that if you're unable to obtain a router. Now, let's talk the stuff arcades are made of, wood, specifically MDF. If we do this right, we will need 2 3/4 inch 4x8 sheets. Do not attempt to purchase the MDF by yourself. Bring a friend to the store with you. This shit is heavy. Also, don't transport the wood in the back of a truck on a day when there's a chance of rain. It will completely ruin the MDF. You will also need a frame to start the build. I use 3/4 inch or 1 inch select pine, 6 inches wide and 8-foot slats. You can use cheaper wood, but I like to use these because they are good quality, smooth, and perfectly cut, which gives me confidence in the arcade's initial framing. To cut the wood and create the initial frame, we will definitely need a pair of sawhorses. Clamps of various sizes would help tremendously with several tasks, and I strongly recommend that you purchase or borrow some. Arcades are also made with plexiglass and bezels to hide the TV or monitor. You can acquire thin plexiglass in 24 by 36 inch sheets from Hobby Lobby for about $7 to $8 in the craft section. You will only need one sheet. Be sure to check for scratches. There should be a thin film on both sides to keep the acrylic sheet or plexiglass from, obtaining damage. Just, if I were you, I would peel that back just to take a look at the plexiglass and make sure that it's in good condition. You will also need a scoring knife or a plastic cutting knife that may not be available at Hobby Lobby. I found mine with the assistance of a sales associate at Home Depot. But do not bother purchasing plexiglass at Home Depot. It is thicker and yes, higher quality, but it is way more expensive. For our bezel, we will be using Elmer's 36 by 48 inch black trifold poster board or foam board, which can be acquired regularly at Walmart. An X-Acto knife will be needed to cut the poster board. If you already have an X-Acto knife, buy some new blades because it will make the cuts so much cleaner on your bezel. Do not use a box cutter. It will be sloppy, trust me. Your cabinet will need a door and your door will need hardware. We need a pair of hinges and a barrel bolt latch. Now on to some other things that will be needed. First, the screws that will be used to assemble the cab. I recommend that you use Spax brand 1 1/2 inch screws, construction screws specifically designed for MDF and hardwood. These screws come with a specifically designed drill bit that will help prevent stripping out, and they will circumvent the need to pre-drill holes. A spackling knife is next. This will be used in conjunction with some dried X spackling that will use to fill in screw holes and perhaps even be used to fill in large joint gaps with Bondo brand wood filler if necessary. For the last few items, we're talking paint. You'll need 2 quarts to 1 gallon of Kiehl's oil-based primer. The more coats you put on and sand down on the cabinet, the better it will look. For your primary cabinet color, you will need 1 to 2 quarts of paint. The higher the quality of paint, the less coats you will need, but the price will also be higher. For your accent colors, you only need small sample sizes of each color. I recommend eggshell or satin as the finish. The higher the gloss, the more imperfections you will notice, but the more durable the paint will be to wipe and clean if needed. I recommend you get a set of 3 high quality paint rollers for smooth to semi-smooth surfaces. Get several tray liners as well as a metal or plastic paint tray to hold the tray liners in. Or you can just buy one of those all-in-one packs. For more detailed paint application in tighter spaces, I recommend a set of detail brushes that can be acquired at Hobby Lobby, or I believe Home Depot may even carry a set. Caulk or some other silicone paintable sealant may come in handy to fill in gaps on your cab as well. I lied. The last items you will need are safety glasses or preferably goggles and a woodworking mask. Unfortunately, due to COVID, these sorts of masks have been hard to come by, so I recommend anything you can find to prevent yourself from inhaling sawdust. A cut t-shirt or bandana is not ideal, but it is better than nothing. This is very important. MDF is made from very fine wood particles and epoxy. Breathing in these particulates can lead to short-term and long-term health complications. And there you have it, guys. Our total projected cost is somewhere between $400 to $600. Now you yourself can determine what your total cost is going to be based on the tools that you can borrow from family members and friends you may have. So do the best that you can to obtain those power tools from people that you know, because the power tool expenses are going to eat into your budget very, very quickly. And of course, I don't recommend that you purchase a power tool that you are not going to use more than once. So maybe even look into tool rental options from Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware or whatever hardware store you choose. If I forgot to mention something, or if you have additional questions or suggestions, let me know in the comments section down below. Our next video in this series will cover the actual build and building techniques. I've got 2 cabinets to show off in the next couple of episodes, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I will catch you guys next time.